So my old evening routine absolutely destroyed my mental health. I'd get home, throw my clothes onto my chair, jump into bed, and scroll endlessly on my phone before rolling out of bed an hour or two later to find some food. I'd then mindlessly binge Netflix watching one brain-dead video after another before quickly cleaning up and crawling back into bed for one last scroll. Eventually, I'd drift off to sleep with my phone still glued to my hand at some point in the early hours of the morning. This was a cycle I repeated for years and years. I was depressed, I was lost, and I felt just completely and utterly useless. But now, thankfully, things are completely different, and I built this life-changing evening routine backed by science that has not only significantly improved my mental health, but also gives me something that I genuinely look forward to doing at the end of every single day. So let me show you what it involves. Now, while morning routines pretty much just start themselves, like we wake up and off we go, I've never really found starting an evening routine to be quite so straightforward. Like, as it used to be for me, it's just too easy to be gripped by a binge-worthy Netflix series or sidelined by a late-night call with a friend, especially after a long day at school, university, work, or something like that. So if we want to get our evening routine right, we don't just want to know what to do, we also need to know when to actually start it. So when should we start our evening routine? Well, this largely depends on when we're going to sleep. So if you're like most people, you're going to need around 7 to 9 hours of sleep, which means that if we're waking up at around 7 in the morning, we need to make sure that our evening routine is kind of finishing at around 11 PM the night before. Now, I like to wake up at around 5 or 6 in the morning, which can be pretty grim, especially during the colder, darker winter months. And this typically means that I'll be going to bed at around 10 PM every night. Then I'll give myself a pretty decent buffer time in which I can complete my evening routine. My recommendation is to give yourself far more time than you think is necessary, because sometimes things just take longer than you want it to take, or sometimes random shit will pop up at the most inconvenient of times, making it really, really difficult to maintain a consistent and regular sleep-wake cycle. You see, our body's internal clock, also known as our circadian rhythm, thrives on regularity. So when our wake-up times and bedtimes are inconsistent, that can throw off this internal clock, making it really, really difficult for us to fall asleep and wake up at our desired times. This inconsistency can lead to a wide range of issues, such as poor sleep quality, difficulty waking up in the morning, and decreased focus during the day, and also long-term health issues such as obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and even depression. I genuinely think the hardest part of having an evening routine is remembering to actually do it, because it's just so easy to get caught up in doing other stuff. So I now do a couple of things that help me to essentially automate the process. First, I use the sleep schedule and sleep focus features on my phone. Okay, so hopefully, as you can see right here, I can edit my schedule to set specific bedtimes and wake-up times throughout the week. It's pretty much 8:30 PM now, so in just a few minutes, sleep focus is going to kick in. And I've also set it up such that the only notifications I receive are from my mum and dad, but all other app notifications are blocked, plus my phone screen automatically switches to the simplified lock screen to remove any possible distractions before I go to bed. The second thing I've done is set up this Govee floor lamp to essentially switch on at 8:30 PM and apply this really relaxing red firelight glow as I go about my evening. There we go. I find this is super, super chill, and it serves as a consistent reminder that I'm slowing down for the day. This is now just going to continue flickering away until 10 PM, where it will automatically dim down and switch off, signaling that it's time for me to go to sleep. So now that my evening routine started, the very first thing I do is minimize any kind of stimulation that's going to keep me awake or feeling switched on late into the evening. This is when I'm going to sort of finish off any tasks on my phone, on my tablet, on my laptop, and stuff like that, and basically avoid looking at any screens for the rest of the evening. Not only does this stop me from getting pings from social media and emails and stuff like that, but the blue light emitted from these screens can interfere with the production of the sleep hormone melatonin, making it more difficult for me to sleep later on. The other thing that I'll do is grab these funky looking blue light blocking glasses, and they're basically designed to filter out the specific wavelength of blue light that is most disruptive to our sleep, which has given me a further layer of protection to my eyes and also to my circadian rhythm. After ditching the screens, I'll then focus on dimming the lights in my room, as bright lights can signal to our brain that it's still daytime, delaying the onset of sleepiness. And I'll then turn on some chilled music or listen to some soft ambient sounds to create a peaceful and relaxing environment. By taking these steps to minimize stimulation, I set the tone for the rest of my evening, and it allows me to transition more smoothly into other calming activities like reading and journaling, which, at least for me, contributes to a better night's sleep. Okay, so now everything's completely switched off. It's now time to begin organizing my life, which involves these two things right here: my journal and my productivity notepad. I try to write a few lines in my journal every single day, even if it's just like a few lines on how I'm feeling or what happened that day. I find this helps me to process my thoughts and also help me to reflect on the events happening in my life too. Today, for instance, I decided to journal around my thoughts and feelings about becoming a digital nomad because over the next 12 months I'm going to be living and working from abroad quite a bit. For example, tomorrow I'm flying out to Morocco for a week, then I'm going to be in Valencia working on various different bits and pieces before flying out to Los Angeles to do some filming with Ali Abdal. So it's going to be a busy few weeks and also a busy few months too. And I always finish a journal entry by writing down the 3 things that I'm grateful for and also my most story-worthy moment of the day, which is something that I learned from the brilliant author and speaker Matthew Dix. Then my productivity notepad is basically where I put all of tomorrow's tasks. Now, I do have this automated task tracker thing that auto-populates my calendar with recurring tasks, which I can then access from pretty much any device, but I really like the manual act of 1, sort of like brain dumping all my tasks on a piece of paper, and 2, the action of just checking it off by hand once that thing is actually done. The reason I really like this particular productivity notepad is because it helps me to identify my most important task of the day, which is usually something YouTube or exercise related, and then there's also a might do list, which is basically everything else that I hope to do by the end of that particular day. I do normally get all the tasks done, but I find the phrasing of it as a might do list really takes the pressure of actually getting it all done. Finally, once my mind is organised, it's time to organise my room. To be honest, my room is rarely that messy, but there's usually a handful of things on my desk that needs moving or rearranging. And I'll also make tomorrow morning as easy as possible for myself by laying out my gym kit with a protein bar and my headphones, so there's literally zero faffing around when I wake up in the morning. So it's now 9 PM and this is my happy hour. So I'm going to put on my headphones and listen to a podcast while doing my stretching routine. At the moment, I'm listening to this really interesting conversation between Chris Williamson and Dr. Andrew Huberman, which goes into a bunch of detail about how to increase willpower using science and also how to manage stress. And then if I hear anything interesting in the middle of my stretches, I will get out this notebook and jot some notes down in here, or I'll make some notes directly into my second brain in Apple Notes. Now, if you've not heard of a second brain and don't know what it is, I have a video about my own second brain somewhere over here. I haven't actually been stretching for that long, but I find that it's a brilliant way to unwind before bed. In particular, stretching helps to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which encourages the body to relax. Tonight I'm doing a stretching routine that targets my legs, hips and knees essentially, because I've annoyingly injured my IT band in a training session in preparation for my marathon in Valencia in December. So yeah, I'm doing everything I can at the moment, I guess, to remedy the situation so I can feel as strong as possible when I get to the start line in 4 weeks' time. If I don't feel like listening to a podcast for whatever reason, I also have a pre-bed playlist on Spotify, which includes a bunch of really chilled out pieces of music that helps to lift my mood and sort of quieten my mind too. And again, there's some research here that shows that listening to music before bed can help to reduce stress hormones, it can help activate our body's rest and recovery states, and also to improve and increase our happy hormones, helping our body to feel more relaxed. The other thing I do to relax is to read, and I pretty much always read fiction books. There's just something about diving into a completely different world that, I don't know, distracts my mind from everyday stresses. But I am really tempted to read this book, which was given to me by a friend last night for my birthday. And I've been waiting for this new book from Walter Isaacson for some time. I've read his book on Steve Jobs, on Leonardo da Vinci, on Ben Franklin, and this is his latest one, and I've been waiting for literally a year or two for this thing to be released. So yeah, I might read this tonight instead. Right now though, I'm reading Aldous Huxley's Those Barren Leaves, which, if you're interested, basically captures the essence of disillusionment in post-war Europe, with that same sort of incisive wit that Aldous Huxley is known for. I don't know, I've just found that regardless of how chaotic the world is, or what's going on, or how stressed you are, you could always find some amount of escape and relaxation between the pages of a good book. Either way, this time in the evening is dedicated to relaxation, and it's the last thing I'll do before preparing to go to sleep. Now, before I can properly get into bed, there are a few other personal bits and pieces that I need to do, other than brushing my teeth, putting in my retainer, having a glass of water, and stuff like that. Most nights I also like to take a hot shower, as this helps me to feel super relaxed, and it also helps to reduce my core body temperature, which helps to facilitate the onset of sleep. In fact, in a 2021 study, it was found that having a hot shower or bath before you went to sleep can reduce the amount of time it takes for you to fall asleep. And then in a further meta-analysis, it was found that having a hot shower or hot bath can improve sleep efficiency and also subjective sleep quality. Another thing I now do is have a proper skincare routine, and I used to think this was something that only girls have, and just wiping my face with the same damp towel that I've been using for the last month was a sufficiently decent skincare routine. But now I wash my face with this CeraVe hydrating foaming oil cleanser thing before applying this personalised Dermatica cream, so I get this sent to me every month, and this helps to sort of reduce spots and other blemishes on my face before applying this Nivea Men's hydrating moisturiser to stop my skin getting too dry. It's nothing too crazy, but I found even this simple routine has made such a big difference to the health and texture of my skin. And then finally, I tape my mouth shut. Now, this may sound like a really odd thing to do, but essentially, I just want to encourage nasal breathing when I'm asleep. It's based on this principle that nasal breathing is better for our overall health. Like, it can improve circulation, it can improve oxygen intake, and it can also filter out airborne particles. This is something I've talked about in a previous video, but the benefits, at least for me, have been quite noticeable. Like, I wake up feeling well rested, with a clearer head, and I snore less too. Not that I snore, of course. So it's now 10 PM and I'm now ready to go to sleep. And sleep is something that I've been actively trying to optimize over the last few months. So if you want to optimize your own sleep so that you never wake up tired ever again, then do check out my video somewhere over here. Otherwise, thank you for watching and I shall see you in the next one. Goodbye.